An MSNBC guest goes on TV and compares the Republican Party to al-Qaeda.
The majority of people in this party and their elected leadership is siding with the anti-democratic forces within the Republican Party. It's not that it's just a segment of the party. It's now becoming the entire party. I don't think there are enough of people who are willing to stand up to this iteration of the Republican Party to build another party at this point. I mean, for all of the conversation about Liz Cheney or Mitt Romney or Adam Kinzinger, they're the outliers. And it's really something hearing those comments from President George W. Bush. I've been thinking to myself this whole time, al-Qaeda, Osama bin Laden, the Taliban, the people who wanted to do harm to our nation and to our way of life and our democracy, they got nothing on what this Republican Party is doing. The idea that a member of their party, of their leadership, whose last name is Cheney, could be purged from their leadership for telling the truth about January 6th, for telling the truth about a violent insurrection that claimed the lives of among them, a Capitol Police officer.
The Republican Party, according to this MSNBC guy, is far more of a threat to the America that he envisions than al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda ain't got nothing on these guys, he says. Obviously, an outrageous and inflammatory statement. And this guy doesn't know anything about anything, and he's pulling the usual tactic of, look, I love Liz Cheney, I love George W. Bush. All the Republicans that lose and hate the Republican Party and are now attacking the party and supporting the Democrats, I really support them. I have a strange new respect for them. So he's pulling that thing, whatever. It's a sort of stupid political rhetorical device, but people use it. On his point, though, I want to give it the most charitable read possible. I think he actually has a little bit of a point. This MSNBC guy believes that the Republican Party is far more transformative for the country than al-Qaeda or Osama bin Laden or something like that. He's absolutely right. In this sense, what did Osama bin Laden and the Taliban and the people who launched the attacks on 9/11 do? They killed thousands of innocent Americans. This was the worst, bloodiest, most terrible attack in American history. Yes. It did not succeed at what it attempted. It succeeded at killing people, but it did not succeed at the ideological goal of totally changing the direction of the country. Actually, what happened is we just kind of kept up the same policies that we already had. We ratcheted them up a little bit. But the liberal internationalism that we saw with George H.W. Bush and that you saw to a lesser degree with Bill Clinton, and you see with George W. Bush, and you see it with Obama, that just kind of continued apace. In fact, we restarted a war that we had already won in the early 90s. We actually just went right back to what we were doing before. Whereas this Republican Party that MSNBC has such a big problem with, this Republican Party is threatening that liberal establishment. The liberal establishment that actually goes back further than George H.W. Bush. You see the kind of seeds of this progressivism during the Cold War, certainly after World War II, and on the domestic front, even going back further than that, in Franklin Roosevelt and even all the way back to Woodrow Wilson. This Republican Party right now is questioning that, is actually threatening that. Was there really much of a difference between Bill Clinton and George W. Bush and George H.W. Bush and Barack Obama? There wasn't a huge difference. What there was a little change on the margins. But then Trump comes in and he says, actually, all you guys are wrong on foreign policy. All of you. You all have the same foreign policy and you're all wrong. All you guys are wrong on trade. You all have basically the same trade regime and it's totally wrong. All you guys are wrong on manufacturing. You're outsourcing that's totally wrong. All you guys are wrong on immigration. On some of the most important issues, you guys are totally wrong. So, because of this, the left, they'll say nice things about George Bush or Liz Cheney right now, because the real threat to them, the real threat to their vision of the country are all those Trumpy type of Republicans. The MSNBC guy's using outrageous, disgusting, inflammatory rhetoric. But the point he's making, I think, is actually pretty fair. All right, that was a fun. Wait a second. No, not just yet. Ring that bell. Subscribe. Make sure you get notifications. I can't believe I almost got out of this chair without it. You have to do it or you won't be able to see our videos. See you next time.